Good morning, everyone. It's Robert from On My Turntable. Hope you're having a great morning this morning. It is Wednesday morning. As always, a coffee kind of morning. With my new schedule, I have to think about what day it is here. I want to start into the D's of my vinyl collection, featuring one of my most favorite bands ever, Deep Purple. I don't have everything on vinyl. I do have all their studio albums except for one, which is Bananas. Um, it's I haven't looked for it too much because it's not the greatest album, but I'll definitely get it one day. But I have everything else. So what I'm going to show you today is my vinyl collection. Again, it's D's of my A to Z. And for time, I'm not going to open up every album and show you everything. I'm just going to talk briefly about the album because I've got quite a few albums to show you here. So, um, again, English rock band formed in 1968, one of the pioneers of heavy metal and classic hard rock for sure. Ton of lineup changes, and probably one of the loudest bands ever, based on a concert in the Rainbow Theatre in London. 100 million albums that they've sold worldwide. It's just remarkable. 100 million albums, can you imagine? Still active today. Again, a ton of lineup changes. Between 1976 and 1984, there was no Deep Purple. Everyone else had disbanded and gone to all kinds of things, different bands, projects, everything else. But again, between my CDs and vinyl, I've got all their studio albums except for that one. And it's pretty expensive to replace, actually. So unless I found a used copy somewhere, which I never see in the wild, I may pick it up one day, but I'm not. And again, I'm not in search for it. So um, there are different versions of the band called Mark. Don't know why they have Mark, but anyway, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, so on and so forth. So the Mark 1 version, the debut album, 1968 release, Shades of Deep Purple, an amazing album. It's on the Polydor label. Really, really good album. There's the young band there. This one features vocalist Rod Evans and bassist Nick Simper, with the original members remaining. John Lord on keyboards, Reggie Blackmore on guitar, and drummer Ian Pace. I think Ian Pace was only like 18 when he started the band, or 17. The youngest member of the band, anyway. More psychedelic, more progressive rock in this one. And it starts off the album. This is important to me, anyway. It starts off with an instrumental called "And the Address," and I'll talk about "And the Address" a little later on in my video here. But just keep that in mind, "And the Address." They do a great cover of Hush, and cover of Help by Lennon and McCartney, and also Hey Joe. Great, great debut album. One of my favorite debut albums for sure. Their second, Book of Taliesin or Taliesin. I've never known how to pronounce that properly. I love the cover of this one, again on that Polydor label. Continuation of the same lineup. There's the lineup there. Again, progressive, psychedelic. Only released 3 months after the debut, which is remarkable. I mean, back in the day, bands were just releasing. They do a great cover of Neil Diamond's "Kentucky Woman" and Ike and Tina Turner's "River Deep Mountain High." Say that 10 times fast. Their third album, cool album. Not as commercially successful as the first two, but still a fantastic album. But it would be the last to feature Nick Simper and Rod Evans. But this is self-titled Deep Purple. This one's on the Tetragrammation Records. That label's kind of, I've never ever seen that before, only on this one here. But again, progressive, psychedelic, really good stuff. But Richie Blackmore wanted a harder-edged sound, as he was getting more proficient on his guitar as well. And it would be the last to feature Rod Evans and Nick Simper, as I said. They'd be replaced, and they would recruit the amazing vocalist Ian Gillan and the harder edged bass player Roger Glover. But again, not as commercially successful as the first two albums, but still one of my favorites for sure. They completely changed their style, going from more psychedelic to progressive to a harder edge hard rock album. They came out with this fantastic debut, so to speak, of the Mark II lineup, again featuring Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. John Lord, Ritchie Blackmore, and Ian Pace were still the original members of the band, but Nick Simper and Rod Evans unfortunately out. But this is an amazing, amazing album. This is a remastered version of it, but I had to have it. I also have it on remastered CD as well, as I do with most of the other albums that I have in my collection. But this is an amazing, amazing album. Heavy, heavy stuff. You got Speed King right off the bat, just in your face. The Opus Child in Time, kind of their Stairway to Heaven, I guess. Flight of the Rat, Hard Lovin' Man, fantastic album. Their fifth album I have on CD called Fireball, and another remarkable album, the Mark II version of the band. But my favorite album of all time, and they're one of their most commercially successful albums, is Machine Head. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. It's on the Warner Brothers label. I love this album. I know it start to finish was my introduction to the band. Every song on that I know note to note, and I feel it still stands up today. 1972 release, their sixth studio album. Never Before, Lazy, Highway Star, Smoke on the Water, Space Truckin'. What do you want? It's just remarkable, remarkable album. Their seventh, and I have two copies of this. One was a VCLT, which I'm so grateful for. Who Do We Think We Are? So this one here, this one's on the Warner Brothers label, and the VCLT has band's signatures on it. Here again, that's Warner Brothers label, but this would be the last to feature Roger Glover and Ian Gillan. There was a lot of tension between Ritchie Blackmore and Ian Gillan, and always had been, I think, right from the start. I don't know how the two got together to produce such fantastic music, but so much, maybe that's because there was so much tension, who knows. But it would be their last album together as the Mark II version until 1984. So this came out in when did this come out? 1972? 1973, I apologize. So from 1973 to 1984, the Mark II version was gone. Then they would come back with a fantastic comeback, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But you got Woman from Tokyo, Rat Bad Blues, Super Trooper, just to name a few amazing songs. And then we have, this is the Mark III version of the band. Again, Roger Glover, Ian Gillan gone. They recruit David Coverdale and vocalist and bassist Glenn Hughes to the Mark III version of the band and bring out Burn. Some awesome stuff on that Warner Brothers label. Fantastic album. Vocalist David Coverdale, one of his earlier bands, kind of an unknown at that time, but what a voice. And between the two, between him and Glenn Hughes, just made magic. You got Burn, Might Just Take Your Life, Mistreated, just to name a few off that one. That, again, that's their 8th studio album. Stormbringer would be the 9th. Sorry, I almost lost my notes there. Stormbringer would be the 9th, again on that Warner Brothers label as well. The second Mark III version of the band, again with David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes. You Can't Do It Right, Lady Double Dealer, I love that song. Stormbringer, Soldier of Fortune. And then David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes are gone at this point. And they bring in, and also Ritchie Black, sorry, let me backtrack. Ritchie Blackmore had left the band at this time. And this would be the final album with David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes. Let me get that straight. Again, Ritchie Blackmore, a lot of tension in the band. He wasn't unhappy with the way things went. So they bring in Tommy Bolin, another fantastic guitarist. But unfortunately, this would be his one and only album with the band. This is Come Taste the Band. Really unique album, different, but still got that amazing vocal style of Glenn Hughes and David Coverdale. Bolin did a lot of the writing on this one as well, but again, he was short-lived. He had just had a troubled life, I guess, if you want to call it. It was the only album not to feature either Ritchie Blackmore or Ian Gillan of any albums that were put out by Deep Purple. You got Coming Home, Lady Luck, I Need Love, just to name a few. So I call this the Mark IV version. And then you get into a fantastic comeback album. One of my favorites. Just as commercially successful as the Machine Head. This is Perfect Strangers. What an awesome comeback of the Mark II version. So Roger Glover, Ian Gillan, Ian Pace, John Lord, and Ritchie Blackmore, they all came back to produce Magic. It's the 11th studio album, 1984 release. Again, one of the most commercially successful albums other than Machine Head. You get Knocking at Your Butt Door, Perfect Strangers. First time the Mark II lineup had been together since 1973. Again, because Ritchie Blackmore had left to form Rainbow with Roger Glover. John Lord was with Whitesnake. Ian Pace was with the Gary Moore Band as a backup drummer. They just kind of dispersed them all over the place. But they came back to produce Magic and Perfect Strangers. And then they, not as commercially successful, but a decent album. This is the second Mark II, revamped Mark II version. This is House of Blue Light. You got Bad Attitude, Call of the Wild, Dead or Alive on this one. I have, and I think this would be one of the last with Ritchie Blackmore. They did put out 1990 Slaves and Masters, which I have on CD. Their 13th album. Their 14th, The Battle Rages On. Ritchie had left for good. He just had enough of Deep Purple. And all the rest I have on CD, except for their latest full-length album. Again, one of my favorites. I voted this one as the best album in 2020. This is Whoosh. Wow. This one, of course, features Steve Morse on guitar and Don Airey on keyboards, as unfortunately they lost John Lord throughout that whole years. Bob Ezrin produced this one. One of my favorites. Throw My Bones, Drop the Weapon. We're all the same in the dark, nothing at all. No need to shout, Step by Step, What the What, The Long Way Around, The Power of the Moon, Remission Possible, Man Alive. Now, this is important. Remember I mentioned the very first album had And the Address as the opening song on their very first debut album. This one ends with And the Address. They did a revamped version of it. Now there's a demo copy or a promo song called Dancing in My Sleep, but And the Address, which to some meant this is the final album of Deep Purple, maybe. Now they did bring out another one, Turning to Crime, which is all covers, so I don't count that as a true original studio album. This is their last studio album so far. This is a Blu-ray or DVD copy of on one side, Roger Glover and Don Airey Roger Glover and Bob Ezrin talking about the making of the album, which is really cool. And then on the second one, they have a concert in France, which is just remarkable. But what a great, great album this one is. One of my favorites, for sure. One of the best live albums ever, in my opinion. This is 1972's Made in Japan. Of course, remarkable. I'm not going to show it because of time. But again, featuring the Mark II lineup, the original Mark II lineup. Highway Star, Child in Time, Smoke on the Water, The Mule, Strange Kind of Woman, Lazy, Space Truckin'. All one side is Space Truckin'. Then I have a compilation, The Very Best of Deep Purple, again on the Warner Brothers label. All the greatest tracks. But the cool thing about this one, it features David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes on this one as well, and of course Ian Gillan, all sharing vocals on some of the songs. So you got Black Knight, Speed King, Fireball, Strange Kind of Woman, Child in Time, Woman from Tokyo, Highway Star, Space Truckin', Burn, Stormbringer, Demon's Eye, and Smoke on the Water. There's the tracks there. So it's cool that they combined all the vocalists together on this one. Fantastic. That was the 1980 release. And finally, this cool compilation. This is Purple Passages. Purple Passages, released in 1972. You've got And the Address, Hey Joe, Hush, Amaretta, Chasing Shadows, The Burn Has Flown, Who Didn't Rosemary, Hard Road, Ring That Neck, The Shield, Mandrake Root, Kentucky Woman, and April. Kind of a compilation of perhaps not their favorite or their most famous tracks, but still cool compilation. So Purple Passages. So there you have it, guys. I try to get this through as quickly as possible. There's part one of the D's, and love you all. I'll be back again soon. I still have a contest entry to do, so I'll try and get that done as quickly as possible. But hope you have a great, wonderful rest of the day. It's a beautiful sunny day out there today, and we'll talk to you again soon. Love you all. Bye now.